What is up? What is up? And welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer, the show where we talk blood sport and we drink beer. I'm your host, Matt. And as always, we got some MMA to talk. We got some beer to drink. I got Cody with me today. We're breaking down UFC Seattle, going over that card, some talking points for it as well. But first, we had some crazy, wild stuff happen overnight with the UFC as far as fight announcements, title fights, champions vacating. So we'll just get into that first. Give you our thoughts, and then we'll get into the UFC Seattle card because this is way bigger news in the grand scheme of things. So first off, we have first. How rude, Cody. Welcome back. I'm excited about all the crazy shit happening. How are you, my friend? USA.
I'm good. I'm good, man. USA. Right now, currently, as we record this, it is 1-1 in the first intermission. About to start the second period up, dude. But outside of that, big stuff happened last night.
Hey, don't boo our national anthem. These colors don't run. They fight, pussy. With that being said, Illia Topuria is vacating the featherweight belt in a move up to lightweight. And with the featherweight title being vacated, that puts Alexander Volkanovski facing Diego Lopez at UFC 314 in Miami for the vacant title. Also on that card that's been announced, we have Yair Rodriguez. He's going to be welcoming Patricio Pitbull Fieri to the UFC. Bellator Goat is going to be fighting in the UFC, finishing out his ride. That's going to be a super fun fight. It's been people have been asking for him for a while over in the UFC, but he's been loyal to Bellator. But Bellator's up and gone. Then we also have Michael Chandler. He's going to be taking on Patty the Batty Pimblett. That's going to be a hell of a fight too. I can't wait for that. And just to throw some icing on the cake, we got Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. That's fucking awesome. And if that weren't enough, there's rumors that Ilya is going to be fighting Islam Makhachev for the title at 155 in his next fight. The following pay per view, we're going to have another title fight. We got Jack Della Maddalena challenging Bilal Muhammad for the 170-pound title. Shavkat Rakhmonov's hurt, but UFC's putting JDM into place. He was supposed to fight Leon Edwards in England. Now it's going to be Sean Brady taking on Leon Edwards in England, and JDM is going to be challenging for the belt. That's going to be a weird fight against Bilal. So the last thing I got for you, they're adding one more title fight to 315 with Bilal and JDM. Valentina is defending her title versus Manon Fiorot. What are your thoughts? What are you most pumped about of these matchups? Everything happening here.
There's just so much to unwind. I mean, if you just sit there and think about everything you just said, I mean, you could make four pay-per-views out of those fights. You can make four main events. That what Dana just brought out last night in the wee hours of freaking Thursday morning was insane. And I gotta say that I'm really excited for Patty Chandler. I'm just a huge Patty stan. I love I love his energy. I love somebody like that in the UFC. Just one of my top five fighters right now. I'm always entertained to see him in the octagon. But the fact that we can go up and see Ilya face Islam
That's
potentially,
that's not official yet. That's just
no, but it's a potential though. It just sparks my interest so much just because I was talking last week about potentially fight of the years that could happen, but now, dude, that's one of one, man. I can't even speak on anything else. That's wow.
Georgia versus Dagestan too.
And plus Valentina, dude, Valentina coming in to defend her title too. She's always a fun watch. I love watching Valentina fight.
Yeah, and Manon Fiorot, she's undefeated in the UFC. Bunch of finishes. She beat Rose Namajunas, Aaron Blanchfield,
Mm-hmm.
the beast. She's big for the division also, so it would be a tough test. I'm looking forward to see how JDM stacks up with Bilal Muhammad. What we've seen from JDM in the past is he's a beast striker. He's got good takedown defense, but he has a lot of holes in his game. He gets up, but he can be held down. People have been able to wrestle the guy, hold him up against the cage, but he's deadly. He's got explosive power. A guy like Bilal against JDM, though, a guy that game plans against a weakness and just exploits it, he's going to be face to chest the entire fight, face to chest the entire fight up against the cage, going for the takedown, keeping it against the cage the entire fight, keeping it safe. If JDM can stay on his bike and move, that's a fun fight because Bilal's not going to be able to hold a candle to JDM on the feet. But when mixing in the takedowns and mixing in everything else, the cage work, he's going to be able to strike with him because JDM's going to have to think about everything else. So I'm pumped about that. Welterweight is popping right now. I mean, Carlos Praet's getting his chance in the top 10 now, I believe Jeff Neal is. We got we got Leon versus Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady washes Leon. I'm not a big
Oh, Leon, I'm not big on Leon anymore either. I think he's past his prime.
think that, but I've never been big on Leon. Even in the Kamaru fights, you look at the first or the second Kamaru fight, so the first title fight that they had when he got the
Hmm.
last second. That's the Leon Edwards I know. The guy that if you're pressuring him, he can't handle it. He was beating guys, but he wasn't beating like tough talent. He fought Nate Diaz, who rocked him at the end. But Nate Diaz is a 155er that doesn't want to cut weight and wasn't taking that serious. It was a super weird matchup, I thought. They're throwing Leon a bone for a money fight. I'm sure Nate thought it was a real weird fight, too. Like, he wants to go out there and fight a guy that's going to stand in front of him and bang, and Leon's not going to do that.
No, and Leon seems like we've mentioned like these kind of fighters before. It just seems like Leon's one of those fighters that they just kept shoving down our throats, just hoping and hoping he gets his title shots, and he's just never panned out to what Dana thought he would be, because you know how Dana has his favorites. But I completely agree with you. I've never been really big on Leon. I mean, he's never really had great odds in his fights, and he's never really had a splash in my eye to make
Yeah,
a stamp for himself.
other than that, the big knockout of Kamaru Usman, the John Anik. I mean, that head kick was phenomenal. It's more famous for the call by John Anik for sure. And
Oh, and it would carry more weight, but now look where Kamaru Usman is now.
yeah, but you could. I mean, Kamaru's knees were going. That's for sure. But he was dominating that fight. You could say that kind of put him on the downward slope, taking a shot like that, and then he's
Oh,
super injured. They say, and he still put up a super close fight compared did with Leon. But that's the welterweight division right now. It's nuts. I mean, I'm super pumped for that. We also the title fight we haven't talked about yet. Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopez for the vacant title at 314. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be a weird matchup because Diego Lopez makes weird matchups. I think Volk is a tough test for him. A guy that's going to keep it tight, keep it in close, but he's going to be striking with you the whole time. He's got reach for a short guy. He's got a really long reach and Diego Lopez keeps his chin high, but Lopez cracks hard as hell. We got to see how Volkanovski's chin is. I look the odds are as the fight gets closer, but I'm pumped for that one. Guy that's
uh,
oh sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. My bad, man. I'm really eager to see how Volkanovski handles Lopez's energy because I mean he's handled guys like that before, but I mean Lopez is a jackrabbit and he's insane. But like you said, Volkanovski has his range and he's got the strength and he's got a striking ability to keep it in close. So that's an intriguing matchup. I would have to see how the camps handle it and hear what they talk about later on.
Yeah, I want to see how Volkanovski looks coming into it because he didn't look great for the Ilya and the Volk fights, but Ilya was short notice or for the Ilya and Makachev second fight.
Hmm.
Super short notice. Ilya was a kind of quick turnaround there, and he was coming off a head kick knockout that he probably shouldn't have taken that fight in the first place because he said he was drinking coming into that camp a lot. And I mean, pot calling the kettle black here, blood and beer. But at the same time, like that's not how you train for a championship fight against the pound for pound best. And he wasn't training for it, but he got been on short notice. You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. On short notice, you're not completely putting yourself through the full nutrition diet that you would be going through in a 8 week, 9 week, 10 week course. You're on a 4 week course, so you don't really have that much time. You're just you're in the gym.
10 days notice, if I'm not mistaken.
It was 10 days notice. Yeah, you have no time. You're literally just trying to just cut weight and just try and lift at the same time and just try and get your muscle memory back.
Yeah, but the guy that we're talking about and that is out in all of this and this entire thing, welterweight's pretty much got everybody included because Ian Gary's taking a little bit of time. Shavkat's hurt. So you got everybody being included now that Sean Brady's got a fight. Lightweight seems like things are moving along well. Everybody's fighting who they need to fight. Featherweight, though, we got a guy named Movsar Evloev who welcomed Diego Lopez to the UFC with a decision victory over the guy. But in that fight, it was super close. Lopez had him in a knee bar. I think it destroyed Evloev's knee. I mean, he took about a year off after that fight. So this guy, undefeated fighter, coming off of the close fight against Aljamain Sterling, but he gets the win there. He doesn't have that trademark win yet. I mean, he does because Aljamain Sterling, even though he's 1-1 at featherweight, his one loss is to Evloev, former bantamweight champion. Dude's a beast, and that was a tough fight. You see, Aljo's still a beast. Evloev's a tough cat, but I think the reason we're not seeing this guy in the vacant title shot is because Volk was the next guy. And Volk versus Evloev does not sell tickets.
It really doesn't know.
Hot. This dude's like riding a hot streak right now. He's just been going up. UFC's pushing this guy down your throat. Like, hey, look at what this guy's done. He beat the shit out of Brian Ortega, Dan Ige. He had a war with. Like, this guy's a warrior. He's a beast. So that's why they made the fight. And then Volkanovski, of course, he is the next guy. Anyways, they're going to do that rematch if Ilya could make weight. But Ilya, that's kind of why they're moving up, is because he can't make the weight. All right. So, with all that being said, what this show is supposed to be about, but we had to get into that. We're going to get into UFC Seattle. We're a day late, a dollar short. We are both sick. We're still sick, but we're trooping through it. And we got Song Yadong taking on Henry Cejudo at UFC Seattle in the main event. Um, it's a card that was super stacked. It's still a really good card when you look at it, but it was super stacked top to bottom, and it's been just absolutely decapitated by injuries. You got Dominic Cruz, got injured, he retired. It was his retirement fight, anyways. Curtis Blades was supposed to fight. He pulled out due to injury. It was going to be, I think, Irene Aldana versus Caitlin Souza, or Caitlin Souza was supposed to fight somebody, and that fight got canceled due to injury as well. So just fights all over the place that were all going to be on the main event gets canceled there. Top fights. This what's happening?
Sorry, I thought somebody was on a power play. You're good.
Oh,
I'm listening.
yeah. What I was saying though, this card is just being destroyed by injury. What we still have though is an absolutely stacked main event with Song Yadong and Henry Cejudo. I do want to talk about our bets last week. You were up 515, so you had a good week. I was down $28. So year to date, I'm up 1337. You're up 1064. So that's where we're at year to date. And then
Climbing, climbing.
yep. And speaking of the card we just bet on, we'll backtrack real quick. I just want to talk about a few things before we break down this main card. We already broke the ice, but we have these questions we ask so we can talk about shit and just shoot the shit. We got Jared Cannonier. He was able to turn back the clock. Huge comeback win. We were watching that on FaceTime together. TKO. He was getting the shit beat out. He was getting the poop beat out of him in that first round. Second round, he came back strong. And I mean, what? I don't know.
He threw us all for a whirlwind there because RoboCop was literally kicking his ass. I mean, Cannonier could not get any length on him. RoboCop was putting the strikes on him. I mean, Cannonier looked like the 40-year-old that he is. And then I don't know what happened in that corner going into the third round, but
Well, the second
boy,
round, he was able to kind of start to find his range, and RoboCop does not move his head at all. I don't think
no.
he got gassed. I think that Cannonier just found his range, and RoboCop was still cracking him. The second round was huge for Cannonier. Third round, I thought RoboCop looked good until the end there when that elbow landed, and then he got the ground and pound, and you could tell RoboCop was just done going into that corner. That comes out in the fourth round, gets finished.
Dude, he just stands there like a rock'em sock'em robot, man. Has no movement.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna stand with him and he catches you, boom, you're done because he's got more power than you probably. But if you're gonna sit there and actually have a technical striking fight with the guy, you're gonna figure him out, I think, unless he can get some head movement, and he just doesn't have that right now. He might need to move up to 205. I mean, the guy's huge. He is
Dude,
massive.
he's massive, man. I don't understand why he's fighting at, what was he, at 185?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like he's drained, but if he moved up to 205, the guys aren't as fast. Maybe he could be a little faster, get some head movement. He'd have a little more energy. I don't know. But getting ahead of myself. Other than that fight, what was your standout performance from that card? And yeah, what stood out to you? I wasn't super impressed with this card, but
No, the card itself had potential, but I mean, it kind of just fluttered throughout the night. One that really shocked me was Nazim's TKO over Ishmael Bonfim. I couldn't believe that because one, I thought Ishmael coming in, excuse me, Pepsi, ooh, coming in 20-5. I thought he was the superior fighter. I know Nazim was he's a good fighter, but with the with the track record that Nazim was on. Sorry, I'm watching the hockey game right now. With the track record that Ishmael was on, I mean, he just seemed like he was had the momentum on his side, and that he was getting dominated the entire fight too. It was real kind of shocker to me. That was kind of my standout outside of the Cannonier fight that we watched together. Because I mean, we were sitting there talking together like, "Oh man, RoboCop's just teeing off. He's just teeing off right now. Look at this. Oh my goodness!" And
yeah.
then it just turned the corner real quick. But I would say Ishmael losing because both brothers were on the card. Both brothers lost, and I thought he was the better one out of the two by far.
Well, Gabriel won. I've always thought,
Oh, Gabriel won. That's correct. That's right.
yeah,
Because
I've
you,
always thought Gabriel was the better fighter. He's got the better record, but he looks more built to be a fighter. Ishmael's kind of a dog. He's a good fighter. He's technically they both have really good guillotines. But I've always thought Gabriel was the better fighter of the two. He seems to move better out there, and yeah, he does have the better record, but that doesn't always tell you the whole picture. I thought
mhm.
Delgado, what he was able to do once he got it to the ground with the ground and pound TKO, he was kind of getting worked on the feet there for a minute, and then he comes back, gets the ground and pound TKO. So that's what I thought, but not a lot to say about that card. Nothing's moving anyone closer to title shots because Cannonier just lost to two of the top five guys before this, so nobody's moving.
And plus he's 40 years old. I don't know how many more chances he's gonna get.
Goal. Let's
USA.
go, baby. So, with that being said, we got the Seattle card. I've been talking about it, been beating around the bush. We're beating the bush now. Cejudo versus Song. Who benefits more from a win, suffers more from a loss in this main event here?
Um, I would say in the current grand scheme of things, I would say Cejudo would benefit more from a win, just because of what he's coming off of recently and his hiatus alone 3 years prior to that. But if you want to talk long term, I would say it's Yadong, just because one of his age. He's 27. He's got plenty of time to come up, and regain himself. Coming off the losses he's been, because he's been win loss his last, like, I think 4 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Now there
and
is
he's
speculation about the guy's age. People think he might be 34, but
I am 12.
yeah, well, that kind of, yeah. They say he might have lied on his passport to get over here or whatever. But
I'm
there's
even.
been fighters that said he was their roommate like 16 years ago.
Oh my God, really? That's
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah.
if that comes out as true, that'd be so freaking hilarious. If magically he can somehow fight another 7 years into being 41, um, I think for him, if he wins, it obviously would help out his resume more to come off and have a big name. I mean, I don't think Henry Cejudo is who he was back in 2020, 2019. Obviously.
Right.
But I think to come off of a win with the name of Henry Cejudo, I think that would help you out a lot in his resume going forward. But for the win right now, I would say Cejudo has more to benefit from just in the current grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think that with a dominant win for either guy, so a knockout for Song Yadong or just a dominant performance for Cejudo, that could land them a title shot because Marab's kind of cleaned out bantamweight before he was the champion, so he's fought all these guys. He has been
Mm-hmm.
Cejudo, but Cejudo is a big enough name. If he comes in and just mops the floor with Yadong, he can get that rematch off his name alone and the shit talk and saying he was injured going into the Marab fight. It can sell some tickets for Song Yadong knockout win. That can get him a title shot too, because like I said, there's no real next guy up right now. You got Sean O'Malley who's coming off a loss to Marab. It was not super competitive, not a super entertaining fight. Umar just got beat by Marab. Corey Sandhagen just gets so close every time to the title and then doesn't quite get that shot. I guess he could possibly get it, but if it's not Corey Sandhagen, then you're probably looking at the winner of this fight as the title challenger next. Now, as far as a loss, I think a loss does not hurt Song Yadong near as much, even if he is 34. Still seems to be in his prime. And like you said, he's win one, lost one, win one, lost one. But the bantamweight division, as strong as it is, this is a guy that's entertaining. If he loses this, he can fight again soon because he's probably not going to get knocked out. It's probably going to be a long, grueling fight where Henry Cejudo wears on him. Maybe comes back in the later rounds to after he gasses out. That's how I see it possibly going if Cejudo gets it. But if Song loses, I don't think it's the end of the world for him. He can get back to the title shot. If Cejudo loses, though, end of the world, end of the line. That's it. Maybe retirement. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. It's just like, what do you have left to do? You came back, three straight losses. Granted, the two were to the two of the previous three title holders at bantamweight with Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili, but like you lost three in a row. How are you going to get back to a title shot? Do you just want to fight fun fights, or do you want to go do your podcast thing? What do you want to do? It's that
Right.
what's next, and it's just kind of tough to see. But yeah, you just don't know. But in the co-main event, we have Brendan Allen taking on Anthony Hernandez. Fluffy. Both these guys are they're rising through the middleweight division. Allen's coming off a loss, but it was to Imavov, so it was a top guy that he lost to. Anthony Hernandez is on an absolute tear, kind of the Marab of the middleweight division. Never runs out of energy. Great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu. Whoever wins this after this win, how many more? Because I think it's probably the same for both guys, but how many more wins do you think they need to be that number one contender? Because it's kind of
Um,
up at middleweight right now.
it is. It's kind of packed. There's a lot of good fighters up there just sitting there waiting for their chances. And I kind of am going to disagree with you just by a little bit there. I think it's going to need after this one. I think given that Hernandez has already beaten Allen once, granted it was a long time ago, but he already has the win on him in his resume, so it's not going to be nearly as impressive um, in the grand scheme of things. And I guess in the rankings, it will because I guess Allen's ranked higher than Hernandez right now. But I think if Hernandez wins this one, without it being super convincing, I think he would need at least maybe three more fights just because how clogged that division is right now. And plus where he's ranked, I think he's ranked what 11 or 10 or 12, one of those three.
Yeah, he's kind of the boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight the guy just because he's got such a grueling style and he's tough to.
Right. And then Allen, I think, is ranked eighth in the middleweight division. And I think if just based on rankings and how it's set up and how it's laid out right now, I think if then Allen gets the W, he only needs two fights to get a title shot. I don't know, just because how the rankings are set up, and plus that he would get the rematch win over Hernandez, boosting his resume, and they can maybe he gets shot up to five, and then two more fights after that, he gets the title fight. But that's just a long shot in my eyes because I don't think Allen is ever going to get the title shot, though.
I don't think he'll get it either, but if he gets close enough, the UFC would probably give it to him because I think he's one of those guys that they just kind of want to push. I think both guys, though, I think they need two wins after this. Whoever wins to get the number one contender fight, they'll win. Whoever wins this, then they'll fight a top five guy, and then they'll get the number one contender fight. The problem for Brendan Allen is it would be longer. He'd have to wait and strategically take the fights to drag them out because he's got Nasruddin Imavov ahead of him, and Imavov had a dominant victory over Brendan Allen in their 3-round fight in Paris. So
Mm-hmm.
with with that, it might be more for Brendan Allen because of how long that's going to be drawn out. Because we got Imavov, who's at least one fight away. Because you got Hamzat next, so Imavov's going to have to fight again, and he'll probably fight Brahio. I would imagine that's who they'd put him up against. Maybe Robert Whitaker, but I doubt it.
I doubt that.
Yeah. So it's just so clogged up right now. But with Anthony Hernandez, even though the guy's not ranked super high, I think people are so impressed with what he's been able to do against the guys that he's been able to do it against. He was an underdog in every fight for the longest time, and he lost some at the beginning of his UFC career. But since then, he's just been taking guys down, ragdolling them, ripping their heads off. I mean, he's a great wrestler. He's got good jujitsu, and his gas tank is just unmatched. And he's like Marab. He's just going to be shooting takedowns in your face, shooting takedowns like nonstop, and he's never going to gas. And he's impressed, and that's why people don't want to fight him because it's just going to be a grueling fight that you don't know if you're going to win. You got to knock the guy out, I think, to win. You're not going to beat him on points because he's just such an effort fighter. So for Hernandez, though, if he gets this win over Brendan Allen, he gets into the top 10. I could easily see him fighting a Robert Whitaker, fight them putting him up against one of these guys that have been kind of with up and down recently that used to be in the title picture, used to be title holders. Is he's I think he's gonna get one of those legends, and the UFC is gonna sick him on one of them. He beats them, gets a number one contender fight against Kaio or Imavov, and then he's in the title picture. I think that's how I see it going for Hernandez. So it would be a lot quicker. I think it'd be like for
I can
Hernandez.
see where you're coming from in that way, just because of his the pure dominance he puts on his performances. His ranking is kind of like just
They're
eh.
And I think he's on like a 8 fight win streak or something like that. So once you're on such an amount of wins, especially at that higher weight class where it's not near as likely as the lower weight classes, it seems they're gonna take notice and they're gonna give you your shot. So
I completely agree.
last thing before we get into it, before we do our main card breakdown, what fight are you most looking forward to on this card? What's pop blowing your eyebrows off, burning them off, whatever the phrase is.
Oh, eyebrows are burning off to this one a little bit. Um, Alonzo Menafield versus Julius Walker. Just because of the pure fireworks that could be there. Because one, we've never seen Julius Walker in the UFC, so we've seen him in Peak and we've seen him in Synergy, I think it is.
Yeah,
Um, and he's got some fire to him, man. He's got some power to his punches, and he's full of energy, and he likes to bounce around the octagon.
super
But so does
athletic.
Alonzo. But so does
Yeah,
Alonzo.
yeah. Alonzo.
Alonzo Menifee, he's a striker, man. He doesn't have the great grappling defense or anything like that, but he likes to strike and he likes to bounce around the octagon himself. And I think that could be for some fireworks there. I just love striking battles, and I'm an addict for striking battles, and I think that could be uh, one that can make this card up a little bit since it's been depleted a little.
Yeah, I don't think that fight's going to be very good, to be honest. I think it's going to be Julius Walker leaning on Menafield, making his arms tired, and just kind of because he's a good wrestler. And he's not like a boring wrestler, but when you have a guy that sucks at wrestling but is tough to submit because he's just so big, and I think that's my thought on that fight. But you want a striking battle? Jean Silva versus Melzik Bagdasarian. Book it. Bogdazarian, he's a beast striker, beast kickboxer. He's got a good body kick. Jean Silva's a fucking killer. Dude's a dog. Woo! He's fucking coming for your neck. And
I don't like an 11 fight win streak or something like that, isn't he?
I don't know what it is, but he's nasty. He went
On
out,
fire.
out Charles Jourdain and then just beat the living piss out of Drew Dober a week later or 2 weeks later. Dude's a beast. So I'm super looking forward to that. And I also think Rob Font versus John Matsumoto will be a really fun one. But we'll get into that. We'll break these cards down here. So main event, we talked about it a little bit as far as who's going to benefit where, but how do you see this fight playing out?
Uh, we talking Cejudo. What do
Cejudo,
we got here?
Song Yadong.
I gotta find my sheet here. So, y'all, Song Yadong and Henry Cejudo. With Henry Cejudo coming in at 38, dude, he's got back-to-back losses, and like I said, he took a 3-year hiatus before these back-to-back losses. He's he hasn't looked good. His last fight was a unanimous decision loss, and then the one prior was a split decision.
I
Um,
thought he won that.
yeah, it could have went either way. I thought he won it too. He looked pretty solid, but I guess the judges thought otherwise. I don't know what they were thinking in that one. But I honestly think that for what he needs, I think he needs to manage the tank in this one. Um, get into the later rounds, pick his spots, because Song Yadong is going to be a massive challenge for this guy. I mean, he has the. I think Song Yadong has a what is it? Yeah, 3-inch reach and a 4-inch height advantage on. The dude's massive. So I mean, he's going to come in and he's going to have the reach on him. He's going to be able to land strikes. Cejudo's going to have to keep it close, somehow get him against the cage, and just get his strikes in there. I don't see Cejudo really being able to. I don't really being. I don't. I don't really see this being able to be one standing up. I think Cejudo is going to have to win the ground in this one. If he's going to have a chance, I think he's going to have to score points with the takedowns because, like you said earlier, I think this one's going to go the distance. I don't think this one's going to um, fall short of 5 rounds. I think this is going to go all the way. And the way that Cejudo's going to have a shot is he's going to have to win the ground. He's going to have to gain points. I don't think he's going to get a sub or anything like this because Yadong has really good ground defense, so he's going to be able to defend everything that he comes at him. But he's going to have to manage his tank while on the ground, though. That's the big thing. 38 years old and coming off 2 losses. I mean, I don't know how much motivation's there. I don't know really what's going on. I haven't paid much attention to the camp, but I think Song Yadong is got a massive advantage here just based on his DNA and his physics alone. But outside of that, his fight style too. He's a massive striker. He can strike. He can do everything that you'd need him to do, and his ground game is pretty solid at the same time. He can.
Yeah, but Henry Cejudo is an Olympic wrestler. I mean,
I know.
they
I know.
get
I'm
him
not.
on the ground. It's
It's not. It's not awful though, Matt. It's not terrible. He can hold his own, but I just
not
think that
terrible. I'll give you that, but
it's he's got the ability to hold his own, but for Song Yadong, he's got to keep it standing up.
he does.
That's for him. He's got to keep it standing up, and he's got to keep his range and keep it off the cage. That's that's what it's going to be for him.
So with Song Yadong, I'm so conflicted on. I'm not sure who's gonna win this fight. I'd like Cejudo to win, but it'll be a super awesome knockout if Song Yadong wins because he's a marauder. He's a great striker. I question his gas tank though and his ability to adjust in a fight to other guys adjusting to his game plan because he seems to come out there and do the same thing every time. And if you change what you're doing, then it seems to give him a problem. Did they just score?
2-2 Canada. Yeah, it's 2-2 all. Goal Canada.
But uh,
Damn, that was nice.
he doesn't ever change what he's doing. It seems if his plan isn't working, he's going to keep going at it, and that's why we see him win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I
No, I
think,
completely agree. That's why I completely agree. He has a game plan and he sticks to it. He doesn't go in and adapt to his opponent's game plan. I completely agree with you there.
yeah, but at the same time, it's done him well, and it's caused him trouble at the same time. You look at
Hmm.
the Piotr Jan fight; he was winning that fight for a little bit until Jan got his timing. Yadong started to gas out, and Piotr Jan was just putting it on him and making him look silly out there. So if Cejudo can Cejudo's got really good striking for a wrestler. I mean, not just for a wrestler, he's got really good striking, and it's unpredictable. He throws weird shots from weird angles. He throws knees. He knocked out Dominic Cruz with a knee. Dude's a beast in the striking, and it's unpredictable. He's definitely got a better gas tank than Song Yadong. And on the ground, I think it'll probably stay on the feet for the first 2 rounds. If Henry Cejudo does not get knocked out in the first 2 rounds, he's gonna mop the floor with Song Yadong, I think. But it's so hard to tell if it's gonna get out of those first 2 rounds. Henry Cejudo, his chin, it's I mean, I've never seen him get slept or knocked out. He got dropped and put by a body shot and finished by Demetrius Johnson, but it wasn't the chin. So I don't see a way that Yadong could win in the later rounds or a decision. but that early storm from Yadong is just going to be nasty. And if he gets a knockout, it's going to be an awesome, goofy, funny, fun knockout.
Yeah, it's gonna have to go. I think there's three ways it could go. I think, like you said, Yadong is gonna have to come out and he's gonna get some crazy firework lit up knockout, or it's gonna go. I think it could go to the distance. That's gonna be my third option. But I think if Cejudo can get him into like round four, I think he can get him with a freaking sub. Um, and then if it gets into round five, I think I think both fighters might be gassed just trying to make it to the end. That's gonna be where it's at. I think it's gonna have to be in round four for Cejudo, and if it gets to round five, he has till I want to say the mid end of the round, and then if not, then both fighters I feel like are just gonna be just gassed trying to get to the end.
Feel that. But I think Cejudo will be there in round five, where I don't think Yadong will if it gets there. But I think
I
Cejudo
just
is a better.
Cejudo's age, in my opinion, I just think at 38 is gonna be a little different.
I know it is, but you look at the guys that can still, and I know he lost to Aljo and Marab. Marab, he might have been hurt for, and he looked good in parts of that. He dropped Marab at one point, but Marab did end up Marabing him and just you know
He's Marab.
yeah. But two-time Olympic champion, you look at the guys that can compete at the later ages. It's those Olympic level wrestlers. You got Daniel Cormier who did it. You have Mark Coleman, who was competing at a higher age. You got the high level wrestlers seem to have age well in their careers. And Cejudo, for the injuries, if he's coming in healthy, he's looked good whenever he's healthy. The Aljamain Sterling fight, he looked great. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll move on though. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Brendan Allen in the co-main event, and I got one sentence for you, and it's that two sentences. It's that Brendan Allen has one shot in this, and it's in the first 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he's got.
Yep, they call him all in for a reason because he's gonna have to go all in within the first 5 minutes. I mean,
Uh,
because Anthony Hernandez is just going to take this man to the ground and just hold him there and just beat the soul out of him.
yeah,
I
he's
mean,
gonna drain him
he
throughout.
averages like what 7 takedowns within every 3 rounds. It's silly,
Yeah,
and his ground control, he averages freaking almost half the fight's ground control. It feels like.
yeah. I mean, and it's not a boring ground control. It's interesting. It's like how when you watch Khabib take guys down, you're like, oh, cool. Like you see the dominance. And with Brendan Allen, he's got a really good ground game. He's got submissions, but I just think Anthony Hernandez is going to be too much. And if you don't knock him out or finish him with a body shot, then it's going to be a long night for Brendan Allen, long 15 minutes. So yeah, that's all I have for that one. I mean, I don't have a lot to say because Brendan Allen, he's got heavy hands. He could do it. He could get a submission, I suppose. I just think that Anthony Hernandez is so much better.
Yeah, dude, Hernandez is coming on the 6 fight win streak, and he's coming off the TKO of Michael Pereira. Um, he's just he's got like you said, he's got the jujitsu background. He's an unbelievable wrestler, and his gas tank. I don't think he has it. I don't think that thing has a bottom to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's an empty part to that gas tank. It's insane how much he can go, and I would love to see how because it's been a long time since we see him in a 5 round fight. I would love to see him in a 5 round fight to see how he just withholds and just see how that just goes into the later rounds and just controls everybody. Just
That fight with Michel Pereira was 5 rounds, but
how was it?
I think it stopped in the fourth. But yeah, I mean, he's just like you said, that gas tank is bottomless. But we'll move on to the featured fight of the night. We got Rob Font versus Jean Matsumoto coming in on short notice here, but he was training for a fight at UFC 313. So, how do you see this fight going down, Cody?
It could go one of two ways. I think if Rob Font can masterfully point out like he does and just use his jab, I think he can win this. If not, um, I think Jan can walk away with a freaking win here. Because he's. Let me go back to my notes here. Um, Okay, Font's on that side, and Matsuyama's right here. Okay, yeah, Matsuyama's coming in 16-0. I mean, granted, 13 of those fights were not in the UFC, but he's looked really good in his 3 UFC fights. He's looked really, really good. Um, I know I like to say a lot about age, but he's already 12 years younger than Font. Um, I think he's gonna have a lot more in the gas tank. I think he's gonna have a lot more energy around the cage than Font, even though Font knows the game, knows how to be technical. Um, I think that he's gonna be. I think the key with him is gonna be his high leg kicks. Because he's got an impressive leg kick game. I think with Jesus Christ, Matsumoto. I keep wanting to say Matsuyama because of freaking. There's a baseball player I seen the other day, but Matsumoto, I think, with his leg game, is going to be crucial because of the distance he's going to need. Because I know Rob Font's going to try to keep his distance with the jabs and all that. Um, but he's coming in at a plus 350. He came in as a plus 350 underdog in his last fight and won. He's basically been an underdog in a lot of his fights. So you can't really ever count out Rob Font. That's the crazy part about it. He's always going to be in every fight that he's in, and he's just one of them fighters that's just technical, and he knows how to get his wins in the UFC. Man, he's really really good, and he's got a hell of a chin too. Like he averages a bunch of significant strikes, but he also takes a bunch too, and he has a great chin, so he can hold his own.
He he certainly does take a lot of shots, and he does land a bunch. Doesn't do a ton of damage with the shots he lands, but
Mm-hmm.
did cash as a big dog last time. I cashed him as a big dog on that one, so big shouts to me. But that fight with Rob Font and John Matsumoto, I haven't been super impressed with what I've seen from John Matsumoto in the UFC. He's really good. He's young. I think I'll disagree with you here. I think the gas tank is with Rob Font. I think that John Matsumoto is going to have a higher output, maybe for 2.5 rounds. But Rob Font doesn't seem to get tired at the end of fights. He doesn't have that motor where he's going to go for the finish. It seems. Um, his method to victory, you laid it out perfectly. It's to jab him. It's to jab him and use his boxing, keep him at range, and just do it from the outside. And he'll have to gas him to do that. Matsumoto's got decent boxing, good kickboxing ish, but where he really thrives is the Muay Thai. Like you said, that high leg kick on the thigh. His knee up the middle is really nasty, and he's got really good ground game as well. He's got submissions for days. So dude's a beast everywhere. I think that he's gonna win this though. I just think Rob Font's been riding high. He's been beating some prospects coming up, but I don't think he's on Matsumoto's level. I think this will be kind of a coming out party for Matsumoto, and I think it'll go down a lot like the Cheeto Vera fight, where this one's only 3 rounds, but where we saw Rob Font outstrike Cheeto Vera, but Cheeto Vera landed the much more significant strikes where he hurt Rob Font. I mean, you look at their faces at the end of the fight. I think that's what we're going to see here, where Rob Font might outstrike him by 20 or 30 strikes by the end of the fight in fight totals, but John Matsumoto drops Rob Font 5 or 6 times because while he doesn't get finished, he has a chin. He gets dropped all the time. He's just getting dropped all over the place. So he keeps going, but it doesn't look good for optics. And against a young killer like Matsumoto, I think that Matsumoto has just got a way easier path to victory, and Rob Font kind of makes it easier in these striking exchanges with guys that hit hard, especially in the Muay Thai where you're going to be getting caught with weird shots you're not seeing coming. Font wobbles, Font steps back, he falls down. So yeah, I like Matsumoto here.
I do too. I like Matsumoto, and plus he's got good odds. Like I think it was what is it, minus 160 or something like that. He's
Yeah,
got.
I got in on him at minus 155 because yeah, he is one of my bets this week. But we'll move on. John Silva versus Melsik Bagdasarian. And one word for you, don't blank. 2 words, shit. Can't count tonight. Can't count tonight.
I
John
got 2 words for you. Must see TV.
Chris Paul. No, John Silva's gonna absolutely murder this dude. I'm a huge
Oh my
John
god.
Silva guy. I'd say it as well. I love this dude. He's a killer. The way he fights, he's just walking you down. He's stepping towards you. He's a bull. I mean, he's dangerous for anybody he fights. He's a dark horse to be a champion soon. Don't mix my words. I think Jean Silva could kill anybody. This dude's gonna murder this guy. What do you think? You think anything different?
I'm completely on the same page with you here. Silva, yeah, like I said earlier, he's on an 11 fight win streak, uh, three three and 0 in the UFC, but 10 out of those 11 were by finish. I mean, he's just coming at you, dude. And
Dude, money back.
um, I got some stats here. He lands about 5.376 strikes a minute, but he also absorbs 4.66 strikes a minute as well. The dude can just take it all freaking day, and but he's going to deliver it twice as hard. He's a freaking animal. I completely agree with you. He could kill a man if there was no stoppage. I mean, he wouldn't. I don't think he has a motor, and if say an official were not to pull him off, he would keep going. It's kind of sad. It's kind of crazy to sit there and think he's got that Brazilian killer mindset.
Dude,
But dude,
such
he's a
a nice
freaking
guy.
savage. He's a savage in the octagon,
Oh, he's
and I think Bagdasarian has nothing, dude. I mean, he's coming off the unanimous decision win, but dude,
Jean
he's
Silva
just
ain't going to decision, buddy.
no, dude. Coming in, he's a minus 590 favorite. There's reason why he's a minus 590 favorite, and he's just. I don't see this getting out of the second round, to be honest with you.
But I hear a lot of people talking about Bagdasarian. He has a really good rear side body kick, so his back left leg or back right leg, depending on the stance he's in. But all I think with the rear side body kick that sets up when you're fighting Silva is he's gonna throw a lead hook right to your fucking jaw, and
I just,
that's hey,
I
Mark,
just completely forgot about this though.
don't mix my words, Cody. Last time Jean Matsumoto knockout while or Jean Silva knockout, not TKO, knockout while Bagdasarian's throwing that rear body kick.
Okay, I'm gonna note that. Knockout always throwing the rear body kick.
Yep.
I have this written down here. I completely forgot to mention it, dude. Um, it's been a long time since Bogdasarian's fought too. He's had 3 fights canceled in between his last fight, and he had a torn labrum as well. So he's coming back off of a crazy injury. So who knows what kind of fighter we're gonna see at the same time, and who knows if he's even gonna be ready for what the hell's coming toward him. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
he I don't think he realizes what he signed up for.
And that torn labrum ain't no joke. I had a torn labrum, ended my boxing career. I don't have full range of motion still to this day because it didn't heal right. It was more than just the labrum, but still, I know that Yuri Prohaska, that's what happened to him with his shoulder. It was all jacked up. So yeah, it's not a joke. That injury fucking sucks. So we'll move on to the main card opener before we hit our bets here. We got Alonzo Menafield versus Julius Walker. This fight, I'll say I think Menifield's a very mid vet. He's a guy that's gonna get knocked out. He'll get out wrestled. He might get a knockout. He hits hard as shit, but he doesn't have a lot for you. The gas tank seems to leave him late in fights. About halfway through the second round, he can look really gassed. Takes a lot to carry all that muscle around. Julius Walker, I don't know much about this guy at all because I don't know how good the competition he's fought is. 8-2 as an amateur, 6-0 in the pros, 5 finishes in those 6 fights. I do know when I've seen him fight, he does have a good gas tank. He's very active when he gets the takedowns on the ground. If he's on his back, he's very active to get back up, throwing up submissions. So he's an active, athletic guy. He's gonna strike at an active, like a fast pace where he's gonna want to be in there and bang. But against Menafield, I don't know how this fight's gonna go. I don't really care either because I don't unless Walker just comes out and just runs over Menafield because it's on the main card for a reason, I guess, and it's not because of Menafield. If Walker comes out and is the next guy up, that'd be awesome. But unless it's something just that blows me away, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be watching the fight, but I'm not gonna be rooting one way or another. I don't think this is gonna be a banger by any means.
I think we're going to see a lot out of this Walker. I don't know why, but I'm kind of high on him. I have him winning. He's a dog at plus 186 right now. So I grabbed him at that. He's got a 4-inch reach and a 5-inch reach with a 4-inch height advantage. Sorry, I got my numbers backwards. Like you said, five of the 6 wins at the pro level are finishes. Um, at Metafield, he's coming off 2 losses, and dude, his one loss was that 12-second KO. I mean, he didn't even last. So I don't see much coming from him at all. I don't think he's got a very good matchup here. He's got to keep his strike output with his energy, and I don't think that's going to happen because I think Walker, by watching some of the tape I watched on him, yeah, you're right. The competition is not very good in peak and in synergy. They seem like really mid amateurs. They're not even good amateurs. They seem very mid. But the energy output that he put on and then his ground and pound strikes, they seem very impressive, and they could be at the UFC level and they can make a difference. I see Walker winning this by the end of the second round. I think he's going to TKO him. I think that he's just the stronger fighter. He's younger. I think that he's just got it. I don't know. Like you said, this fight's the beginning of the card. It's not really like got much significance to it, but I think it could be a nice little spark to start the night. Hopefully, you know.
Yeah, and the prelims aren't bad either. I don't have them pulled up
No,
here, but I was pumped for a couple of them, but we just had so much packed into the show. We're not going over it. We're not going to break down the whole prelims anymore because we'd be here all night. But we're going to get into our bets now. Cody, you were up 515 last week. I was down $28. So you're closing the spread here. You're up 1064 year to date. I'm up 1337. So you're down by about 250 roughly, 260 or 270. I'll let you go first. What picks you got for me, buddy?
so I've only got 3 picks this week. The odds on this card kind of suck.
Yeah.
Just being blatantly honest. So I think the move to go on this one is props, or parlaying it. I did 2 props in a parlay. My first one is going to be Metafield Walker TKO finish. Either way, it don't matter because both last 2 fights for Metafield, he's been TKO'd or KO'd, and like we said, the last 5 out of 6 for Walker's been ended by a TKO or a KO. I think that's just how this fight's going to keep going. I think the recipe is just going to keep it. It's just going to stay the way it's going. You can get that at minus 140. I threw 400 on it. It'll bring me back 285. So it's a total of 685 back. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Just a little come up. And then Jean Silva and Bagdasarian to go the distance. No, I'm going to throw 400 on that. You can get that at minus 132. It brings you back 219. So I got 619 total coming back there. And then my last one's a little parlay. Since the odds on these are not very good, I got Walker money line at plus 186, Yadong money line at minus 310. I got Hernandez money line at minus 340, Jean Silva money line at minus 590, and then I got Font and Matsumoto fight to end by points minus 290. Gives you a plus 669 parlay. I threw 200 on that to bring in $1,339.77 to total out to $1,539.77.
All
What
right.
about you? What about you, brother? What do you got?
Going big with that parlay, but I mean, good odds. So I did 3 bets as well. I did it a little different here. So I got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez minus 300. The odds I got the man at 600 on him to bring me 800 total profit or 800 total. So I get 200 profit on that. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got Jean Matsumoto at minus 155 straight up. I put 200 on it, gets us 330. So those 2 hit, we're looking all right. We're profitable at least. We might not be as good as you this week with that big parlay if it hits, but we'll see. And then finally, I got Jan Kutilaba and Aslan Ibo,
Ooh, a prelim.
a prelim under 1.5 minus 125. I put 200 on it because um, I think Kutalaba's got a ground advantage. He's going to be able to submit him if it goes to the ground. I think he's much better on the ground, on the feet. Ibo Aslan, he just fucking throws, doesn't move his head, hits hard as shit. So I think that it's just gonna be. Oh, I got my last name in it. I think it's just gonna be an absolute carnage fight, round one finish. So I put 200 on that one to win me 360. So that was minus 125 odds. So you got a way bigger profit margin. I think my bets are a little safer, a little more sound, but just because I think that Menafield Walker fight it's either going to be a dud that's just fucking grinded out decision, or I think Walker might get a weird submission, rear naked choke, or a guillotine that Menafield shoots a tired takedown on it. I don't think that, but a TKO is certainly possible early on. I just think as the fight goes on, these guys might both kind of get tired of each other. So yeah, but this has been a long episode. I don't know how long we've been going, but we'll cut it off here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate Cody for coming on. What's the score? 2-2 in the game?
2-2. We're in the intermissions. Third period starts in about 7 minutes.
All right, baby. Remember, these colors don't run, they fight. Go USA. UFC Seattle this weekend. Next week, it's UFC Fight Night. Manel Kopp versus, oh, shit, Asmabayev.
Yes.
Yeah, it was short notice. So, Almabayev. We'll get into that next week. But this week, we got a UFC Seattle Fight Night. And then we got Alex Pereira finally taking on Magomed Ankalaev the week after that. We're going to get into all that. We're going to do a watch along soon on this channel. We're doing it live. And we'll let you know. We'll do it for a pay-per-view, of course. We're not going to do it for no duds. It might be 313, 14, maybe 15. We got to work things out. It takes time. Adults live far away.
We'll get it figured out here.
We'll get it figured out here. But anyways, that's all we got for you. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Let me know your thoughts, your picks on the fights. Let me know how you're doing this year with betting. And as always, I'm Matt with Blood and Beer. Later.